my name is Les Louise and welcome to my channel. This is your first time here, and if it's not, well, welcome back. Today I am going to be sharing the story of my second pregnancy. Now, if you haven't seen the video on my first pregnancy, please be sure to check it out. I will link it down below. So, where do we start? I have been all over the place with this video. I don't even know why, but I initially recorded it because you guys told me I needed a microphone. So I bought this cheap little microphone for like 20 bucks on Amazon, but clearly I need to spend a whole lot more than $20 because when I played back the video, it just sounded terrible. So we're gonna try this again with no mic. Let's start before I found out I was pregnant. Me and my fiance, because he had proposed, we were engaged, we had determined we were not gonna have another baby. Now this kind of sounds foolish now looking back, but at the time, we're like, we're not going to have another baby. We're going to make sure we're married. We're going to carry our families along. We're going to do things the right way. Obviously, that did not happen. So I found out I was pregnant with my second child. My first son was 2 years old. This was like a week before he turned 2. And I knew it in my soul I was pregnant. I went and bought a test to confirm it. It said I was pregnant. I hadn't told my fiance at the time. I was almost scared to tell him. Not scared. That's not the right word. Well, I wasn't scared of him. I just knew that he wasn't going to be happy. And I was kind of afraid of him being unhappy about it, knowing that I felt happy. Like, if I'm being honest with myself, I was disappointed that I was disappointing my family and we were doing things out of order and we were being disobedient to God. And I had all of this guilt and weight of just these bad choices I had made to get us to this point. But in my heart, I was happy to have another baby. I can't lie about that. Like, I was excited at the thought of another child. Like, it wouldn't, I wish I had done it the right way, but as soon as I knew I was pregnant, I was already in love with my baby. I was in love with him. I was in love with my firstborn, my 2-year-old. He was like just such a joy to our family, to my husband and myself. Like, we were so happy to have him. So the idea of a second baby, to just all this love coming into our family, oh my God, I was ready for that baby. Immediately I got that positive test and it became real to me. I was in love with that baby, and I was just scared to be faced with the reality of, oh my God, you guys have done this again. You're living in sin. You're having premarital sex. You're having all these kids. Like, what's going? I did not want to hear the noise of that. So I just wanted to rest in my bliss. And I knew my husband was like, he was going to be faced with, oh my God, we're having another baby. We're going down this road again. Oh my God. So I didn't want to deal with that. So I didn't tell him for a couple days. Eventually, when I told him, we had all these difficult conversations, and it was like, it took him a moment to work through his feelings. But I mean, eventually we got to a place where we were happy about it. And we decided that we weren't going, I told him what I wanted to do. We decided we were not going to tell our families until after the first trimester. I just wanted to get through like some of the more difficult times of pregnancy, like the beginning stages of morning sickness and just all of that, feeling tired, exhausted. I didn't want to have conversations with my family or his family or our friends or anybody. I just didn't want to. I wanted to rest in, I'm pregnant, that I'm tired, and let me sleep. So, and just make sure everything was okay with the baby. So after, I'm trying to remember so I tell the story accurately. So we were just going along. It was coming up to the end of my first trimester, about 11 weeks. My husband had been working out of state during this period, so he was gone for a number of days at a time, and it would just be me and my 2-year-old at home. So on this faithful day, I had just been feeling off and weird, and I didn't know what was going on. I told my husband about it, and he's like, you're fine, because I, at this point, was really dealing with anxiety a lot. And so I would go through, it didn't take a lot to like have me spiral into just fear and paranoia, like just oh my God, everything's wrong. And oh my, like, it didn't take a lot for me to spiral down that. So he would always maintain like a steady, like, everything is fine, you're okay, very reassuring. And then I would lean into that to kind of calm myself. So when I told him I was feeling off and things just, what if something's wrong with the baby? I don't know. Maybe I'm cramping, but I don't think so. I don't know. Like, I'm spiraling. He's like, you're fine. Don't worry. It's okay. Everything will be fine. Nothing's wrong with the baby. Go to bed. So I go to bed that night. Before I go to bed, this is TMI, but I'm telling you anyway. I had wiped and there was like a slight little half a drop of blood. It wasn't even like, it was just a slight pink twinge. Is that the right word? I don't know. Anyway, when I wiped, there was just like a little bit of pink. And I'm like, am I bleeding? What is that? Like, I was trying to squint to see it. But there was barely anything there. And I told my husband, he's like, you're fine. Go to bed. Nothing's wrong. So I go to bed. About 4 a.m., I wake up. And I'm kind of cramping, but not so much, but kind of. And I go pee. When I pee, it's... like, after I pee, I wipe, and it's just like blood, like black, thick, dark blood. And I knew instantly something was wrong. And it was like, oh my God, you're actually cramping. Like, something is wrong. Oh my God, is this a miscarriage? What's happening? And mind you, this is 4 a.m. My baby's asleep. So I go pull him out of the bed. I put on like some sweatpants and a sweatshirt. I pull him out of bed and we get out the door to the hospital. I think I called my husband. I don't know if he woke up or not. I can't remember now. But I think I told him what was happening, or maybe I texted him. I don't remember. Anyway, we go to the hospital. I get us there in like 10 minutes. And there's barely maybe like a handful of people in the waiting room. So we didn't have to wait too long before we got seen. So they took me back. I did a blood test. They asked me questions. And then they eventually took me in for a sonogram or ultrasound. And if you've ever been pregnant, you know that when they're doing these ultrasounds, they don't say anything. Like, the lady said nothing. There was no reaction. If anything, she looked sad. So in my head, I'm like, oh my God, she doesn't want to tell me. Something's obviously wrong with this baby. And so I'm just sitting there like, God, please. God, please. Oh my God. Like, I'm just scared. And I'm just praying in my mind, like, God, please. And I'm holding it all together because I don't want to freak my baby, my 2-year-old out. And I also don't want to freak myself out because once I like get down there, it's like, oh my God, you know, it's like I'm going to fall apart. And I had nobody with me. I didn't want to call my husband's parents because I just didn't want to worry them, especially since nobody knew I was pregnant yet. So I'm like, what if I had a miscarriage and nobody knows? Like, I don't want to be like, oh, guess what? I'm pregnant. Oh, actually, well, yeah, I'm also having a miscarriage. So I didn't bring it up. And I didn't call them. He told me, like, do you want my mom to come? I'm like, nope, don't say anything. Let's just find out what's happening first, and then we'll go from there. So we're waiting for the doctor to come in to explain what happened in ultrasound. Finally, the doctor comes in. They're like, they don't see anything wrong, but they don't, like, it's hard to tell. And the baby's still alive from what they can tell, but I could be in the early stages of a miscarriage. Or it could be nothing. I could just be bleeding for no reason. So it's like, okay, let's just, like, what am I supposed to do with that? So I was distraught. We're just sitting there, and I don't think they even gave me anything. I'm just there with my 2-year-old. This was probably about 6, 7 in the morning at the time. So I think I called my neighbor to see if she could come pick up my baby, and I kind of told her what was going on, which she eventually came to get him maybe an hour later. And I'm just still there at the time. After my son leaves, I think they do another ultrasound, this time like a vaginal ultrasound. And they're like, you're just bleeding. Did they do a vaginal ultrasound? I don't remember, actually. I feel like they shouldn't have if I was bleeding, but maybe they did. I feel like they did. Anyway, the doctor is like, she doesn't see anything besides the blood, but as far as she can tell, the baby's okay, but I should go home, and if I start passing clots, then I need to come right back, but I need to just go home and follow up with my OBGYN. So I leave, like, God, please just let my baby be okay. I was really worried, and I just wanted to go home and go to sleep because I was exhausted. After I go home, I lay down for maybe an hour or so. And then I need to use the bathroom again. I go pee. And this time there's clots. So my heart just completely sank. And it's just like, God, like, what is this? I was calling my husband and calling him, and he didn't answer right away. And I remember getting so mad at him, like, why aren't you here with me? But he was at work, like, and if he knew this was going to happen, he would have been home. But he was also like 4-hour flight away. Even if he got on the plane, he wouldn't have made it home in time to be there with me by now. So it was just, I was really just frustrated that I was going through that alone. But I also didn't want anybody else in my space. I don't even know how to explain that. But I ended up going back to the hospital. They monitored me for a few more hours. And they're like, you're having a threatened miscarriage. So it's like, either you're going to have a miscarriage or you're not. Like, there's really nothing we can do at this time. So you just need to go to your doctor, like the earliest appointment you can get, and hope for the best. So that's what I did. Like, it was such a scary time. But I prayed and I was begging God. I remember like just begging God for my baby, and I was just so scared. I couldn't even imagine, even if it was only 12 weeks or 11 weeks. It's like, I love that baby so much, and I couldn't imagine not having him around. So anyway, my husband comes home. We end up going to the doctor. They do ultrasounds and everything. The baby is fine. They're like, you have a SCH, which I don't remember what it stands for, but I can put it up here. Put it here. Eventually, yeah. So they said I had an SCH, which is basically there's like pools of blood, and as the baby's growing, it's going to push the blood out. So I might start bleeding off and on, or keep bleeding, and eventually it'll stop. They didn't really go into like what it was or what the risks are or anything like that, probably because they didn't want to scare me, which I Googled a little bit when I got home, but I got freaked out and I stopped. I was like, I'm just going to listen to what my doctor says and trust in God and just go from there. So after this happened, I told my husband, I'm not telling anybody I'm pregnant. I don't want to, like, we don't even know if this baby's going to survive. I mean, we're hopeful, but I'm not trying to bring my family or your family or anybody into it, especially knowing that my family specifically was not going to be happy. I didn't want the pressure of dealing with that and worrying about my baby. And now looking back, I know I should have told them, and I should have had those conversations and given them the benefit of the doubt to be there to support me. But I just really wanted to protect myself. Like, I know that everything that they were saying and they did came from a place of love and wanting to protect me. But I was also just like, I just want to be in my little bubble, and I don't want to talk to anybody about this, which is foolish. Now that I look back on it, I should have handled things better. But anyway, so we're just going along. Eventually, I tell my family. I don't remember when I told them. It was a long time later, and they were mad. Like, I should have told them. It was a long time into it before they knew. But I was just praying to God, like, this baby is like, this is a gift. This is a blessing. And I was just trusting God to keep him, to keep me. I was going to have a healthy pregnancy. When my first pregnancy, I ended up with a C-section, and I was like, God, I am not having a C-section. I'm going to birth this child vaginally. There will be no complications. There will be no issues. Like, my faith was so strong. Like, I was just leaning on God. Like, you will take control of this. There's nothing, whatever plans the devil has, we come against it. We cancel it. Absolutely not. And so as we're going along, I think about 20 weeks, I had my scan, and they're like, this baby is in the 98th percentile, which my first child, I think he was in the 95th or 98th. I don't remember, but he was a big baby. And that's part of what led me to have my C-section with him. And so my doctor was like, girl, I know you want to have a VBAC, which is a vaginal birth after a cesarean, in case you don't know. But she's like, I know you want to have a VBAC, but we'll see. Because if you're having a 98th percentile baby, I don't know about that. We might need to go ahead and schedule your C-section or maybe an induction. Actually, no. The hospital I was birthing at did not allow inductions for VBACs. So yeah, she's like, we might as well go ahead and schedule this C-section. And I was like, absolutely not. I was like speaking in tongues like, God, I know. I know I'm having a VBAC. Like, oh my God, the prayer, the declarations, I was speaking in tongues. I came to God. I was begging. I was pleading, everything. Because I knew I did not want another C-section. Like, I felt so defeated after my first pregnancy. I was depressed. Like, I went through a lot and things were just so out of my control. Like being so sick, ending up with a C-section, going through postpartum depression. It's like all of these things weighed on me so much that it made it such a difficult time for me. There was so much pain and sadness attached to that time, except for my baby. I loved him immediately and I still love him so much. But going through that, like, it was such a dark period of my life. It felt worse than when my dad had died, which I'm a daddy's girl. I love my dad. My dad loved me. Oh my God. I was crushed when my dad died. But it felt like my pregnancy, my first pregnancy and postpartum period was so much just, I don't want to say worse, but worse than going through grief, that I knew I wanted the complete opposite for my second pregnancy. And I took it to God. I was like, nobody can do this but God. And I am trusting that I will have a healing vaginal birth. It will be a glorious and blissful postpartum period. I will be a great mom. I will take care of my baby. Like, I will feel so happy after I have this baby and after my postpartum. Like, when I'm reflecting back on that season, it will be one of joy. And I told, like, that was the conversation me and God had. And I was trusting him. So when I got the news that it was a 98th percentile, like, baby, what? Do you know how big that baby is? My first baby was he was 9 pounds, 13 ounces, almost 10 pounds. So I was like, I'm not like, I need this baby to be little so I can push him out. And so I started praying. And because I have a fibroid, the SCH was still, like, the blood pools were still there. And I had this big baby. I had to go to a specialist. So I was going almost every week or every other week to the doctor. And I was getting so many ultrasounds. So we kept on being able to see the progress the baby was making. And I kid you not, as I was praying, like maybe a month after that, or maybe a month and a half after that first anatomy scan, I had another one scheduled. And when I went in for this, the baby was in the 80th percentile. And it was so much, like, when they said that, there was so much joy. It was like, God, I see you working. I see it and I believe it. And I'm holding on to this. This is not like just a coincidence. This is not an accident. This is, God heard my cry. He heard me and he is doing something about it so I can have my VBAC. And I held on to that. I kept praying. Oh my God, I was making declarations over this baby, over my pregnancy, over my labor and delivery. And so a few weeks after that, I go in for, on my 37th week, I go in for another anatomy scan. And when they scanned this baby was in the 60th percentile. And the doctor was like, what is going on here? Why is this baby, like, not growing? Like, this was a 98th percentile baby. And then he was an 80th percentile baby. And now he's a 60th percentile baby. What is happening? The doctor was concerned, but they couldn't see anything really wrong apart from the percentile change. But like the baby wasn't in distress. He was healthy. His heart rate was normal. Everything, the fluid was normal. My fibroid wasn't growing. Like the SCH had resolved. Like it was perfection. But the baby was getting smaller. He was growing, but he was not growing according to the trend. And the doctor was like, okay, you need to come back on Monday, because I think this was Friday. This was Thursday or Friday of my 37th week. And my week starts on Monday. So this was 37 weeks and maybe 5 days or so. And he's like, I don't understand this. So you're going to come back on your 38th week and we will do another scan and see. And based off of that scan, we might need to get this baby out. And I'm like, okay, God. Now, old me would have been freaked out when he said that. But me trusting in the Lord to take care of me and this baby, this was an answered prayer. This little baby was an answered prayer because it ensured that I was going to have my VBAC. It ensured that I would not need my C-section. Things would go according to plan. He would be a nice little baby that would just slip right out. So I was like, thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus. So 37 weeks and 6 days. Yeah. Or 7 days, whatever. Yeah. 37 weeks and 6 days. Because the 37th week and 7 days is 38 weeks. Okay. 37 weeks and 6 days, which was that Sunday. It was I have a bonus daughter. It was my bonus daughter's birthday party. It was her 10th birthday and we were at her mom's house. So we go for the party. I'm like big and ready. Like my baby is huge. And we go for this birthday party. I'm excited. We're hanging out. We're eating cake. We're eating food. I don't know what we were doing. But I had my hospital bag. I had my hospital bag for me and my husband, the car seat, everything in my trunk. Probably since 32 weeks or maybe 36 weeks. And my husband would look at me crazy like, girl, calm down. Oh, let me back this up. I forgot. So tell me why my husband that weekend he had a meeting that Friday that he was trying to make in Puerto Rico. He was trying to go to Puerto Rico to come back Sunday morning in time for our daughter's birthday party. And I was like, sir, I am 37, almost 38 weeks pregnant. You cannot leave. And he's like, I will go. It's a 4-hour flight. I will fly out. I will go to this meeting at this lawyer's office. I will sign the paperwork I need to sign, and I will come right back. I'm like, you can do an e-signature. He's like, no, I cannot do an e-signature, not for this. I'm like, your business partner can go. He's like, nope, I need to be there. I need to be there or this deal might fall apart, blah, blah. I don't even remember what was going on, but it was like, he needed to be there. I'm like, if you go and I go into labor, I will be so mad. I don't want to say I will not forgive you, but I might not forgive you. If I have this baby and you're not there, you're not my birthing partner. Like, I don't have a doula because this was during COVID. And the hospital I was birthing at did not allow doulas. It was you and your birthing partner, like one person, and that was it. So I'm like, I don't have a doula, number one. I don't have you. I don't have anybody else. I mean, his mom and his dad were in town, but I don't want your mom and your dad to be my birthday partner. You are the daddy. You need to be here. So I was like livid that he was even considering going. And I'm not trying to like paint him bad. Like, he's an amazing dad. He's the best dad. I could not have asked for a better partner. He's wonderful. But he's also wonderful in taking care of his family. And like, he wants to be a good provider and he wants to steward his business. So I understand that. He was torn. I was like, sir, you cannot go. And of course he didn't go. But he had started packing a bag. And this man, he took the stuff I had packed in my hospital bag for him out and put it in his little overnight bag that he was trying to take to Puerto Rico. He didn't tell me this. But anyway, so we're getting ready for this birthday party, which is like an hour away from our house. And I'm like, I have my hospital bag. So whatever happens can happen because I have my stuff. I have everything. Grandma came with us so my 2-year-old, like if anything happened, he could go with grandma. So I'm just like, every day when I would leave my house, I'm like, okay, I have my hospital bag. Anything, I'm going to the hospital for my VBAC. So I feel like I'm dragging on. Anyway, we go to the party. We're having fun. We're eating. We're laughing. Hee whatever. We go outside to see some people off. And then we're going back in the house. I lift my foot up to climb up the first step. And it's like, and then it's just like this little trickle of water. I thought I was peeing on myself. Went all the way down my leg. And I remember one of my daughter's mom's friends, she looked at me, she's like, are you okay? I'm like, I think I'm peeing myself. She's like, are you peeing yourself? What's going on? Oh my, I'm like, let me go up. She's like, is your water breaking? Oh my God, her water's breaking. And everybody's just like, what? Oh my God. Like, so everybody gathers around. I like hobble my way up into the bathroom and I'm just like leaking, a slow leak. It's not like I dumped water all over her house, which I did, but I'm like leaking water. I'm like, okay, this is not pee. This is my water broke. And my husband's like, let's go to the hospital. Let's go. I'm like, sir, calm down. We have time. It's fine. Let's hold on. Let me call my doctor and tell her what's going on. So I call my doctor's office. They're like, go to the hospital. And so we get in the car and start driving to the hospital. My mother-in-law and my baby were still in the car with us. We stopped at Panda Express because I was like, I'm starving. I need food before they tell me I can't have food. So we go to Panda Express. I'm eating my rice and chicken. We called our neighbor to meet us at the hospital so they could pick up my mother-in-law and my son and take them home. And I'm just like ecstatic because I'm like, God did it. Like, this is what I had been praying for since day one of this pregnancy. I had been praying for my water to break, for me to go into labor naturally, to go to the hospital and birth this baby. And it was like, it is happening. I was so happy. I had opened up my 2-year-old's diaper because I was leaking all over the car. And I was just like, oh my God, I didn't feel any contractions or anything. We were just, you know, it hadn't really started going other than my water breaking. Like, nothing had really happened. Anyway, so we make it to the hospital and we say bye to my 2-year-old and my mother-in-law and we go in to have this baby. And I'm just like, thank you, God. Like, I know I'm having this baby vaginally. I'm not having a C-section. It is going to go well. I'm not getting an epidural because I don't want that to stall my labor. Like, I walk in, I tell the nurse, I'm like, don't offer me an epidural. I don't want it. Don't bring it up. Don't, like, even if I ask for it, ask me twice if I really mean that. And she's like, hey, okay, cool. I'm like, I'm having this baby. I am not having a C-section. I want a ball. I want to like move around. Do you guys have a mobile monitor so I can walk down the hall and not be stuck on my bed? And she's like, hey, I will support you as much as I can. I will try to do my best to ensure you have this VBAC. And I'm like, thank you. And so we're just chilling. My husband's eating his dinner. We're just hanging out. My doctor from my doctor's office, she was on maternity leave because she was also pregnant. So her partner who was there, I feel like she was trying to set me up for a C-section. She comes in and she's like, you can't have any water. You can only suck on ice chips. You can't get out of your bed. You can't walk. She didn't want to give me the ball. Eventually she agreed, but she's like, the ball needs to be right next to your bed. There's no mobile monitoring for you. Yeah, you're just going to be here and we'll see what happens. And I'm like, dang it, this lady really doesn't want me to move around and like get this baby out. Like, she wants me in the bed on my back, like not moving. So the baby sits here and I get my C-section. Like, I already knew what she was up to, but I was like, I come against you. So at about 10 o'clock at night, I started having really intense contractions, 10, 11, and they would come every minute for a minute. It was like every minute for a minute, I would have intense back labor. My husband would have to like put a counter pressure on my back. Like, oh my God, we did not sleep. Like, we would literally sleep for 1 minute. And I'm not like exaggerating. We would sleep for 1 minute. The contraction would start. I would wake him up. He would come and press into my back for a minute. And then it would go away and I would go back to sleep. We did that all night. So at like 4 a.m., about 4 a.m., I called the nurse. I'm like, I can't take this anymore. This is too much. Give me my epidural. She's like, are you sure you want an epidural? Because you told me you didn't want one. I'm like, bring my epidural. She's like, let me give you something else instead. I don't remember what it was. I have no idea what it was. I want to say it was fentanyl, but I don't think it was fentanyl. Anyway, she gives me that. It made me feel so loopy and woozy and like I was high. I've never been high a day in my life, but that's what I thought it would feel like. And after she gave it to me, it just made me feel terrible, but it distracted me from the pain. So I was so focused on how terrible I felt that I didn't notice that I was in pain anymore. It lasted about an hour. Then she gave me another dose, which lasted about another hour. And I was like, by 6 a.m., I was like, girl, go get the anesthesia. I need my anesthesia right now. And then she's like, well, we need to give you fluids, which I don't know if that's true or not. But she said you need a bag of fluids before we can administer the anesthesia, which will take about 45 minutes for this bag. And I'm like, what? So 45 minutes later, as soon as the bag was done, I was pushing that button like, the bag is done. Where's the anesthesia? Get the anesthesia. And then the new nurse comes in and she's like, oh, you need another bag. I'm like, what do you mean another bag? I need my anesthesia. Where's my epidural? And I start cursing at this lady. I don't even curse at people, but I was so like distraught, out of control. It was terrible. And I was like, bring me my anesthesia. And I was yelling at my husband. I'm like, go find that anesthesia and you need to put it in yourself. And he's looking at me crazy like, girl. So 3 hours later, eventually, sometime after 9, the anesthesiologist comes in and administers the anesthesia. He did it wrong the first time. And yeah, he had to do it again. And the nurse wasn't even nice. She brought a ladder for me to hold on to. Mind you, I'm still having back-to-back contractions every minute. 4 minutes. And I'm having to sit there through the contraction, not moving, just sitting still, holding a ladder. Like, what? These Georgia hospitals need to do better. Because the Houston hospital, my nurse was so warm and so nice. Nurse D, I remember her very well. She was so nice. And she gave me a big hug when they gave me my spinal. But anyway, I get my anesthesia and I go to sleep. And I'm sleeping for most of the day. Eventually, my son had meconium. So it made me, I was starting to get an infection. So I was like throwing up over and over. But shortly after that, because when I started throwing up and getting kind of sick, I was worried that they would like let me back it up. After I got my epidural, because they had done shift change, so I had a new doctor. Not the doctor from my doctor's office, who was a black doctor, who I'm like, I want a black doctor because I want my VBAC and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Because my first doctor was a white man, and I was like, maybe he didn't care about me. All stuff that I knew was not true. But you get on these pregnancy apps and they talk about, oh, black women, you need a black doctor who's going to care about you and fight for you. And I had bought into that. No, it's not true. You just need a good doctor. Because this nice, sweet little old white lady came in and she was my doctor. And she's like, honey, do you want a popsicle? Do you want a juice? Do you want this and that? And she brought me all the stuff. She took good care of me. When my nice black doctor gave me ice chips. I got to the hospital at 5 p.m. and I had nothing but ice chips till the next morning. And then my nice little old lady doctor came in and she gave me some juice and a popsicle. So anyway, right around 7 p.m. that night, I went to active labor, and I pushed my baby out. And it was such a healing experience. It was so wonderful. It was so amazing. It was like, I can't even explain the rush of just like the dopamine hit. It was so amazing. It was just, it's like, glory to God. Like, oh my God. It was amazing because it's like this thing that I had hoped for, I had prayed for. God did it. And he showed up in such a real way. My baby went from the 98th percentile to the 60th percentile with no issues. Nothing was wrong with him. The doctors were concerned. They were like, what's going on? We don't know what's happening. But he came out. There was nothing wrong with him. There was nothing. He was healthy. He was happy. He was beautiful. And I had my VBAC. And in that moment, I knew I knew God loved me and I knew I could count on God, and he would be there. He always would show up. But in that moment, it was like, I love you, my child. I am here. Depend on me. Like, don't depend on your doctor. Don't depend on your understanding of the world. Don't depend on these things. Come to me. Come to me, to my warm embrace, and I will take care of it. I will fix it. I will do it all. Come to me. It was so amazing. It was such a glorious time. And that is like the testimony of my pregnancy and my son's birth is something that I hold so dear. It was so healing for me. And it was just like, God is so amazing. He is wonderful. He is awesome. He is Lord. But let me get it together. I wanted to share that. I hope this story blessed you. I hope it showed you that God is truly God. He is Lord of our lives, and he wants you to come to him. It doesn't matter what you're going through. It doesn't matter what you've been through. It doesn't matter what history says. You can come to God and trust and know that he is God, and he loves you more than you love yourself, more than your parents love you. He wants the best for you, no matter what. You just need to lean on him. You need to come to him. You need to trust him and believe. Surrender it all, and he will take control, and you will be blessed for it. Thank you, God. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. Bye-bye.